Hey guys, and welcome to or back to the Pause in Pursuit podcast with your host, Summer Clark. So today's episode is going to be slightly different in the sense that I'm going to be answering one question that I got from a listener that I was going to answer it in my Q&A last week, and then I was like, actually, I'm going to make a whole episode on this because I think it's really important. Probably going to be a slightly shorter episode. I'm not going to lie, guys. I'm exhausted. The season is just wiping me out already. I don't know what it is, but I think because I'm doing 2-day shows every single weekend, I'm just feeling like I'm not really getting a break from being busy, and I'm so tired. So I probably won't be talking too much today, but the question I'm going to be answering is related to burnout in agility dogs. So can it happen and is it preventable are the main topics I'm going to cover around this. But yeah, that is what today's episode is going to be about. I am going to read you out the question that I got from this listener before I answer it. But before we get into that part of the episode, let me give you a quick weekly recap. So not a ton has happened. It was Ethel's birthday, bless her. 11 years old. Cannot believe, I don't know where that time's gone. When I think of Ethel, I think, six years old. And she's 11, which is wild. It's actually Arrow that's nearly 6 years old. So honestly, time just, woof, it just goes. Then we had Thames at the weekend, which it was, so no groundbreaking. Great, Summer, great. No groundbreaking results to shout about from Thames, to be honest. But all in all, Arrow did feel good. And again, he nailed every single seesaw, which as in every single one was perfect. Really super fast right to the end. Stopped right at the end, stopped until I released him. Couldn't have asked for more. And literally a month ago, that's all I wanted. I was like, I don't care if we go wrong in other stuff. I just want to go into an agility run thinking my dog can do a seesaw and not panicking that he's going to either fly it or stop short and it's just going to be a drama. And we're there already. We've achieved that through our consistency already, which I'm super happy about. Results-wise, he did win grade 7 jumping. He seems to know the non-important runs to do really well in, lol. But he was a good boy. And then, don't want to sound ungrateful, by the way, but do you get what I mean? And then we did come 7th in champ jumping, but we wasted 2 seconds. Well, I say Arrow decided to take a tunnel-driven detour before entering the weaves, which I had to shout him back off, which wasted the 2 seconds that we needed to win the class, which is what we needed to get into the champ final. So as soon as that happened, I was like, yeah, we're still clear, but I knew it was over because champ is so tight. So that was irritating. It was a scoop into the weaves. My handling was fine. I rewatched the video. I was in all the right places, said all the right things. And he was just like, no, I'm going to sneak past you and go for that tunnel. And I was like, no, you're not. Come back. But by then, we'd wasted the 2 seconds. So that was annoying. But we still ended up 7th, which honestly isn't awful, is it, in champ? To be honest, all of his runs did include really good work. And he is improving in so many ways. Like I said, the seesaw being the main thing. So I am pleased with that. And like I said, we are feeling good together. But if I'm being totally transparent, I am feeling rather demoralised by our apparent lack of consistency in champ and singles at the moment. And I think the main issue as well is that the only shows that we're doing at the moment every single week is literally champ and singles. Stakes was in there as well, but obviously we've already qualified. And the next things I want is to win a champ ticket and then also to qualify for singles at Crufts next year. But with these being 2 rounds, we just can't seem to get it together over the 2 rounds. If we do really well in one round, there's always something in the other. And yeah, in our other runs at Thames, there's just always one silly little thing at the moment that I didn't expect to happen that happens. And I'm just stood there like, what on earth? I did not expect that to happen. Why did that happen? I'm happy with my handling, how I'm approaching and attacking the courses, and I know Arrow has the skills to go clear on those courses, but he's just giving me some really sporadic behaviour, and it just baffles me, when your dog does something, you just stood there like, why? You've never done that before, why would you do that? You did that absolutely fine at training, and I know we had our 6 months off, and that's what I'm just trying to remember, and we're still coming back from that, and, we have improved a lot since then. I mean, we didn't come back properly till end of March, really, because February and March, all we did was tryouts and Crufts, just because I didn't want to do any more and ruin, the fitness I'd built back in my foot. I can hear a really weird noise outside. Anyway, completely lost my train of thought now. Oh yeah, so we didn't really come back to agility properly till kind of end of March once tryouts and crufts was out the way, which is March, April, May, June. So it's like not even 3 months. It's like 2.5 months ago. So, I need to put that into perspective and just remember that, this year's kind of mainly about us getting back up to speed and just getting it all together again, which has happened faster than I thought, to be honest. But it is frustrating when there's like one little silly thing in each run. And other than that, we're literally up there. We're fast enough, does all the bits the hard bits maybe that I was thinking, oh, that might be tricky. And that's just a random thing that I'm like, why? But isn't that agility? And that's just a little reality check, because if you relate to that, just remember everyone has that at some point. I've spoke to a lot of people that feel the same, unfortunately, especially, as far as champ and singles and stuff like that goes. But yeah, you're not alone. And even the quote unquote top handlers and top partnerships that are competing for Team GB and have won crufts and stuff like I have still feel a bit shit sometimes and still get things wrong and come away from shows with not a lot to shout about and not a lot of results, especially not the results they wanted going in. So we all feel like that. And that's just your little reminder and summary of my week. But yeah, let's get into the meat of the episode then. Every time I say that, I say I'm never going to say it again because it sounds awful, and then I say it again, lol. But anyway, so this listener wrote into me and they said, do you have any tips to avoid your dog getting tired of agility? I remember an old video you posted once of Arrow in the ring displaying displacing behaviour, which I'm assuming was maybe more of a confidence thing rather than a not wanting to do it thing. We have been competing for a year and I'm very wary of not asking too much of my dog. At a push, I think 2 days in a row of competing is the very max he'll do. He's 2.5, his drive is food, and he loves praise. He sniffs a lot in the queue, but as soon as he's in the ring and sat, he's focused on me, which I'm very grateful for and don't want to lose. I know he's doing agility for me, and I'm worried he may decide he doesn't want to do it for me anymore. So, a few things about this before I actually answer it. The old video of Arrow in the ring displacing, yeah, that was a confidence thing. He had no confidence and he was scared rather than a not wanting to do it thing. But it kind of was a not wanting to do it thing because he didn't want to do it because he was scared of it. So it is kind of along the same lines. But yeah, it wasn't a disinterest in agility thing. It was a I'm shitting myself in this environment kind of thing at the time. So it's good that you're wary of not asking too much of your dog. That is very important. And it's very good that you're self-aware and, you're aware of the, possibility of overdoing it. Some people aren't even aware of the possibility of overdoing it. You say at a push, I think 2 days in a row of competing is the max he'll do. You say you think. I would ask, how do you know this? Have you done 3 days and the third day been awful? Is that how you know that? If so, fantastic. You have found your dog's limit. If not, how do you know that? Because we can overthink and we can over worry and presume things. So if you've never done more than 2 days in a row, then how do you know kind of what about his behaviour over 2 days is making you think that is the max he can do? Is he getting slower throughout the weekend? And it's great that you are kind of picking these things up if they are the case. 2.5 is still super, super young. So again, definitely focus. You want to be focusing on just keeping it fun and doing fun, drivey exercises, keeping sessions short. And yeah, but yeah, 2.5, still very, very young. And at this stage, it does want to be about, confidence building speed and drive and focus and stuff like that. You say his drive is food, which is great. You found his favourite reward and he loves praise. Excellent. Sniffs a lot in the queue. Again, yeah, this is quite common. I've seen this a lot. I would suggest working on his behaviour in the queue to set him up for a run better. So, doing your tricks in the queue, rewarding focus. Have you got a watch me queue? A focus on me cue to stop that sniffing. Just try and do some training in the queue specifically to improve his behaviour in the queue and correct that sniffing. But then as soon as he's in the ring, he's focused on you, which is great. And you don't want to lose that. Why do you think you're going to lose that? Or why are you worried about losing it? Because, have you seen other dogs eventually lose it? Or, What is it? Why are you worried about that? Has it given you signs that, you may lose that? Because if he's got it, then great. Why would you think you'd lose it? I get the overthinking and the over worrying, but I would be interested to know that. And then you say, I know he's doing agility for me, and I'm worried he may decide he doesn't want to do it for me anymore. What about his behaviour makes you know that he's doing agility for you? Because if you get into the ring and he's sat and focused on you, and that's a great sign that he's enjoying it. So why do you think that he's just doing it for you? Do you not think he enjoys it? It'd be interesting to see how he's running. I haven't seen how he's, him run. Does he not seem to enjoy it? Does he just make himself do it for you in the sense of you feel like you're dragging him round? Because a lot of, most agility dogs, I'd say 98% of agility dogs enjoy agility. Obviously, you get some that I watch and I think that dog's not enjoying itself. And that could be for a multitude of reasons. But yeah, I'd be interested to know how you know that he's doing it for you. But yeah, you're worried he may decide he doesn't want to do it for me anymore. First thing I'm going to say, well, I say that I've just said loads. But now we're out of the actual question. I'm going to say generally, if a dog suddenly decides they don't want to do it anymore, first thing I would say, rule out physical issues first, get to a physio, get them to assess your dog and make sure it's nothing physical, because if your dog suddenly got any niggles, tightness or pain, that is probably, your dog's not going to want to do it because it causes discomfort. So get that ruled out first. Secondly, if a dog goes off agility, I would put it down to burnout, just like we can get burnout, okay? So burnout is basically, and I've talked about this so many times, I've had it in myself, it's very common in humans, but I do believe agility dogs can get burnout too, both physically and mentally. So yes, I think burnout in agility dogs can happen. However, the good news is I also think it's preventable and treatable if it happens. So we can get to a point where, most of us start agility and we get hooked on it because it is very addictive and we want to do it all the time or as much as possible. We research new methods and want to try them out on our own dog, so we want to train more. And as we improve, we start getting a little bit competitive and craving that constant progress. And we all, it's human nature to love the high of feeling progress. And even if your dog appears to enjoy agility, too much of any good thing can be detrimental over time to us and our dogs. And there is a balance between striving for greatness and blatantly overdoing it. Okay, so it is finding that balance and getting it right, which again, it is slightly different for everyone. And it's just about finding that for yourself. So signs of burnout in agility dogs, obviously rule out physical issues first. Your dog has less energy and displays less joy on course. So for example, they may have slowed down, their normal speed and they're now running slower. Or for example, your dog usually barks as they're going around a course, but they've suddenly stopped barking. Barking is usually a sign of excitement. And if that's stopped, you have to question why that stopped and if it means the excitement and the joy has gone from the exercise. Your dog forgets, quote unquote, how to perform a known behaviour or starts making more uncharacteristic mistakes than usual. So if you suddenly notice your dog just can't do a certain skill or, makes mistakes that they just don't usually on a regular basis, then that could be a sign that they're burning out or they've burnt out. You experience a plateau or regression in your usual rate of progress. So say you've been making steady progress over a period of time, whether that's weeks, months, or even years. You suddenly stop making any progress at all. Okay, you don't progress at all, or like the previous point, everything seems to be getting worse. Losing skills. Success rate decreases, and you feel like you're going backwards. Your dog stops responding positively when you arrive at your training venue or a show. If they usually do and they suddenly stop, we've got to ask, why is this? Again, like the stopping barking. Why is that suddenly gone away? Basically any behavior change is a sign that something is wrong, or not always, but usually something changing in your dog's behavior means something has gone a little bit amiss. So if they used to get excited and respond when you arrived at agility and they've stopped, you've got to ask, why is that? And then your dog starts displaying unusual displacement behaviour. So sniffing, sniffing in the ring or on the start line or in the queue when they didn't usually. And maybe your dog toilets in the ring and they've never done that before. So displacement behaviours that they don't usually do, they start cropping up. And then lastly, your dog loses interest in their reward. So if they have a favourite toy or a favourite food that you give them as their reward for doing agility and they suddenly don't want it, they don't take it, they don't grab it out of your hand as, excitably as usual. If you're playing tuggy and they're not that interested in tuggy, if they tug for like 2 seconds and drop it and walk off when they normally tug for like a full minute with you and growl and stuff, that may be a sign that they're just burning out. They're not excited by it anymore. So those are a few signs. And again, every dog is different and may display different signs, but you need to know your own dog for you to kind of know what behavior is normal for them and what isn't. So how to avoid then, like I said, I literally just said this, but know your dog. So learn what behaviours are normal and abnormal for them as individuals so you can catch the early stages of burnout and prevent it from progressing. So if you know what's normal for your dog and behaviours that are out of that normal realm start occurring, then you think, okay, burnout may be happening, and then you can prevent it from progressing any further by, backing off. And also, if those normal behaviours stop, so like barking in the ring, getting excited when you get to training, if those normal behaviours stop or are removed from your dog's day-to-day, then that is also abnormal. Frequency of training and competing is entirely dog and lifestyle dependent, so it depends. Each dog can take different amounts of activity, not only just the breed and, the age and the characteristic of the dog, structure of the dog physically, but the characteristic of the dog mentally. Some dogs are just higher energy than others, etc. And lifestyle dependent, so how much time you have to train and compete makes a huge difference and is totally independent to everyone, and there's no right or wrong. So frequency of training and competing, I can't say do agility this much and it'll work because everyone's different. But I personally currently train once a week in a group and then compete once or twice a week. And if I feel like I need to, I'll do little skill sessions in the garden, maybe 2 or 3 times a week on top of that. That's currently what I'm doing. But, there was definitely more training when Arrow was younger, more shorter sessions and little bursts because he was still learning. But now he's got everything. It's more of a maintenance training program, and competing, once or twice a week at the moment throughout the season. But a lot of people ask what I personally do, and that is what I personally do frequency wise. But again, every dog, every handler is different. So I'm not suggesting you do that. That's just for people who are interested in what I do. Might not work for you, probably won't. So just bear that in mind. I would also say, frequency of training and competing, monitor it. And again, using the first point of knowing your dog, is the frequency of training and competing, changing their behaviour for the better or worse? And just monitor it. And if it's having a negative impact, if you can tell it's having a negative impact, scale it down, do slightly less. Trial and error, see if that works, okay? If your dog's absolutely thriving on what you're doing, you can maybe experiment with adding a day if you feel necessary, or just keep it as it is, but it's very independent. Also, give your dog at least 1 full rest day a week. So by this, I mean at least 1 day where you're asking nothing of your dog, okay? Obviously, you can still go for a walk, but you're asking nothing of them, okay? And I think more than 1 rest day is a good idea. But I say this because Arrow also has his physio that he does, his physio exercise in the week. So most days I'm asking something of him because of that. Whether that's the physio 3 times a week, then we've got training once a week, and then we've got 2 days of competing, that's 6 days. So give them at least that 1 day of just don't ask anything of them. Kind of don't do any quote unquote training type exercises at least once a week, 1 day a week, I would suggest. But again, some dogs may need more than that. Maintain your dog's fitness and book them in for regular physio appointments. That's huge as well, because any niggles, tightness or pain, like I said earlier, can put them off agility, because all they know is that agility equals physical discomfort and pain that they want to avoid, okay? Even just tightness, it feels uncomfortable. If you have a tight muscle, you don't want to be running about and twisting about and stuff. So, and often a lot of dogs, you can't tell when they've got something up because they're great at masking it. Arrow's a bit more obvious, but even then, sometimes I've had a really heavy few weeks, gone to physio, and Arrow's physio said, yeah, his back's super tight. But I wouldn't have known. He seemed fine. The only way to know is to do that regular physio, okay? Yes, it's expensive, but I think every dog that's doing agility, especially frequently, should be having regular physio checkups and appointments to get any of these little things identified and treated. Earl and Ethel, my terriers, you'd never know anything was wrong with them, okay? Arrow is a bit more dramatic, but like I said, the tightness, you wouldn't even know. Enter less shows during the winter season to make up for the busy summer season. That's what I personally do. If you don't have a super busy summer season, you probably don't need to do that as such. But, I try to enter a lot less shows, maybe 2 days a month to keep Arrow in the loop, maybe every other weekend throughout the winter, just one day, just to keep Arrow in the loop. As I've spoken about a lot before, I need to keep Arrow in the sport. Otherwise, he just goes crazy and loses his head, and it's as if I've never done agility with him before in my life. But as opposed to the summer where we're doing every single weekend, both days for pretty much the whole summer season, that's not a lot, if that makes sense. That winter season is not a lot in comparison. So I don't think you should go from doing nothing to doing everything at all. You want to ease out of the season and back into the season, like gradually increase the load as you come back into the summer season. So you've got to do it tactically, but yeah, definitely scale it down in the winter if you have a super busy summer season like me. Also, never neglect normal dog quote unquote activities. For example, just taking your dog for walks, going on day trips, just normal chill stuff like that, okay? But that's super important. It can't all just be agility and it can't all just be work, okay? That's super important for not only your dog's mental health and physical health, but yours as well when it comes to agility and just life in general. Utilize your dog's favorite reward. So find out your dog's favorite reinforcer that makes them enjoy agility the most, because they're working for that reward and it's such a high to get it at the end of their hard work. And use that. And then if your dog's a dog that gets bored of things or loses interest after, maybe a month of a certain reward, you can tell your dog's not as interested anymore. Switch it up if necessary. So switch up the type of food you give your dog. Buy them a new toy, switch up the type of toy. If your dog likes everything, you could go from treats to a toy or vice versa. Just to keep it fresh and exciting for them. Maintain a positive attitude and emit the energy you want your dog to adopt. So always try and stay positive, yeah? Because if you are in a positive, energized, excitable state of mind, your dog will pick up on this and copy that, okay? So, like I said, that saying, it travels down the lead, it really does, or it travels up the lead or whatever. If you're in a good mental way, your dog will be in a good mental way and enjoy it too. If you're enjoying it, your dog will enjoy it so much more. Put your dog's enjoyment first always. So if you know your personal dog dislikes running in the rain or wind, for example, give those runs a miss. So if it's spitting and you think my dog doesn't like running in the rain and never runs as fast or with as much enthusiasm and doesn't seem to enjoy it, just give that one a miss, because they're not all going to be like that. It doesn't hurt to miss that one. Or if it's super windy and you've got a tiny little dog that really struggles and you can just tell they don't enjoy those conditions, just give that one a miss, okay? It's just one run. It's better than having a bad experience, okay? No experience of that run is better than having a bad one, in my opinion. And then the last point to avoid burnout is, if you're not in a mindset that will improve your dog's experience, and get the most out of them, give the run a miss as well. So that goes back to the maintain a positive attitude and emit the energy you want your dog to adopt. If you're in a really shit mindset, which we all are sometimes, and it's only human nature, and that's fine, and you're going to go in there and just not have a great time, and it's probably not going to go great because you're not in the right headspace, just give that run a miss. And again, some dogs aren't bothered what their handler is feeling or emitting. Some dogs couldn't care less. Ethel is one of those dogs. I could be in whatever mood and she'll run the same. She'll love it anyway. Miss Independent. Whereas Arrow, it really, really makes a difference. He picks up on me so sensitively. So again, it's very dog dependent. Most dogs do pick up on their handler. Not all of them, but most dogs do. So again, it's back to just learning about your dog and, what affects them in a positive and negative way. So that is the episode on burnout in agility dogs. And to the listener that sent in that question, thank you for reaching out. And I hope that helped. If you or any of the rest of you listening to today's episode have any more questions on that topic or that question or the points I've made, please do send me a message, get in touch. I would love to discuss it further with you. My DMs are always open. And yeah, so if if you're thinking, oh no, that's my dog, I think my dog's got burnout, you can fix it, just step back, just reassess, step back, chill out and take the advice from this episode. And you will get back on track and you'll come back with a vengeance and both of you will come back so much stronger. So thank you guys for listening. What am I doing in the next week? Again, business as usual. However, I do have Whirlwind. So Saturday, I'll be competing at Whirlwind. I've never been to Whirlwind before. My good friend Amelia runs Whirlwind. So I'll be competing there on the Saturday. And there's no qualifiers, no super important runs, which is pretty much all I've been doing lately. So I'm quite looking forward to just going to a show, chilling out and just doing my normal runs and enjoying myself and not thinking about, results or qualifying and stuff like that. So it'll be a nice way to break up all these important champ shows and stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. And then on Sunday, I'm judging at Whirlwind. So if any of you are going to be running my courses at Whirlwind on Sunday, I really hope you enjoy them. And yeah, this is my last judging appointment that I've got booked in. I was meant to be doing Dogs in Need, but I can't get there anymore. So I'm not doing that. So this is my last judging appointment that I've actually got booked in for the foreseeable because I'm just so busy competing. So it'll probably be the winter when I next judge now. It'll probably be Inspire, which is crazy. But yeah, really excited to do that. I haven't judged in a bit. So yeah, excited to do that. By a bit, I think probably a couple of months. But anyway, yeah, that wraps up the episode. If you enjoyed the episode or you're enjoying the podcast in general, please do give it a 5-star rating and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Also, make sure you're following it on whatever platform you stream your podcast so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Please do keep sending me your solo topic requests for future episodes and also guests that you'd like me to have on the podcast in the future and what you would like me to talk about with said guests. That would be great. Give me a bit of inspo. Every suggestion I get, pretty much I do an episode on, so you're basically guaranteed to get your topic made into an actual episode, so please do send those my way. Like I said, my DM's are always open if you have any more questions for me or just want to chat. Follow me on social media at Paws in Pursuit or Summer Clark, as I know most of you do. I'm active on those, pretty much the main platforms, pretty much every single day. How many times can I say pretty much in a minute? Take a shot every time I say pretty much. Actually, don't do that. Disclaimer, don't do that. Be safe, kids. And yeah, I think that's everything I say. I also offer one-to-one online coaching. So if you'd like help setting goals for this season or achieving them, please do get in touch. There is an online coaching inquiry form in the description of this podcast episode. A link to that, so give it a fill out and we can have a chat. It commits you to nothing but just lets us have a chat, see if we're the right fit, and if not, absolutely no hard feelings. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Wednesday evening. I say that this comes out at 8. That is like nearly bedtime for me. Pretty much an hour before, well, I like to be in bed at 8:15, so it's bedtime. So I hope you guys have a great sleep tonight. But if you're listening to this at any other point in the week, hope you're having a great day, great week. And I will speak to you next Wednesday at 8 p.m. and I may see some of you at Whirlwind this weekend. Bye, guys.